Hey, it's Mike with Services That Scale. In this video, you're going to meet Jasmine, a member of my community who came onto my recent office hours calls. Office hours are free calls for members of my community where I do my best to help you out with any questions that you have or any stuck points that you have that are preventing you from growing your business. Jasmine came on and was having problems selling her agency services and selling around the GoHighLevel platform. We had a good conversation around it, and I think it is some of the most valuable sales lessons that I could possibly share with anybody who's getting started and having a tough time selling, or maybe they're not just getting started, but sales is something that is not completely natural to them. Maybe they have a little bit of psychology tied up around sales that is preventing them from being successful. It's a quick but very valuable conversation. I hope you enjoy it. Jasmine says, a business I talked to a few months ago tells me they want to be a client now. Awesome. This is after I gave up. That's a bummer. Not going to pay enough for GoHighLevel and I'm tapped out. How should I take them on now? Well, if they're not going to pay enough for GoHighLevel, I would take them on. If they can't pay enough for GoHighLevel, I would walk away. Honestly, I hate to give you an answer to turn down business if it's not the right answer, but it sounds to me like it's not really an opportunity for you. Okay. And here's the thing, gang, and this is so true. This is one of the most important lessons you can learn as an entrepreneur, particularly if you are a service entrepreneur, is that not everybody deserves to be a customer. Okay. If you have that service mindset, which I have that service mindset in my early days as an entrepreneur, I used to bend over backwards for people who weren't paying me anything near what I was worth because I'm just a service-based person. And I said, that's what you got to do. You hear all those old wise entrepreneur guys talk to you about, you should always just say yes to a customer and bend over backwards and do everything that they ask and yada, yada. And it's so stupid and so untrue. I mean, maybe that's true if you're working for a company that can pay you millions of dollars in service fees every year, right? If you got a big Fortune 1000 company or whatever that's paying you an arm and a leg, sure. But if you're providing services to a small business and they can't afford to pay you $297 a month, $397 a month, $497 a month up, they're really not a service customer. You could do courses and sell them courses. You could sell them some sort of automated tool, right? But if you're providing a service and they can't afford to pay enough to cover the cost of GoHighLevel, that's probably not a customer. If you want to do some charitable work, that might be your opportunity for the year.
Thanks for
Cameron, of
having me on.
course, thanks for being here.
I never mean to be like pessimistic, like I'm going to give up,
I get it.
but I'm really trying to find my way through this because the work itself, it's easy. I get it. Like
Yeah.
I can do the things. It's just, I would say my absolute dream situation of what I truly want is like either marketing consulting or even just to be able to do a thing, give it to them, and then let them go, and they're just pretty much renting
Yeah.
the software,
Yeah.
and that's what I understood a long time ago with all of the interviews, I've heard with, Chase and, other people.
Yep.
So I'm like, "This is awesome, I could totally do that." Obviously not. I know it's me, I'm doing something wrong, and I'm finding that I have difficulty. I get stuck in the education because I just love that part. The
Yeah.
one-on-ones and education, like, no problem. It's that final, like, it's alright, so it's gonna be 297, 3, 4, like, I could sell a 97 all day, but then I find myself working more than
Yeah.
that worth, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I actually do have one customer at 97 that I signed up a long time ago, and I don't even think they're using it, but they didn't turn it off
Yeah.
either.
That's because
So
and you why? Because there's a certain price point where it's a magic price point where people just won't even bother turning stuff on. It hits their credit card every month and it's a small enough charge and they're just like, whatever. It's human nature. There's only so much effort I'm going to spend this week into digging into the charges that I see hit the credit card. We talked about this on a previous call a little bit in the
Mhm.
chat, I know. And we talked about this difference between like a creative person and a salesperson and business person. And in selling to small businesses, you have almost no room to be a creative person, unfortunately. Just the math doesn't work. And so you
Right.
have to be very good at if I'm doing something creative, it's got to be something that scales, services that scale. It's got to be something that I can make once and sell multiple times, that type of thing. So if I'm designing new websites, it's got to be 85% template, 15% creative, right? So that I can actually make the economics work. Otherwise, you're just the answer is if you want to be a creative, you need to sell to bigger businesses that have more money, right? And that value that creative and value a big business will spend millions upon millions of dollars for a new logo and a rebranding campaign around that logo. And as soon as they launch that logo, 70% of the world will probably be going, oh, that was the dumbest thing they've ever done, right? But big businesses see the value in it and will spend that money. A small business will never spend it. You tell me I have to spend anything on a new logo, right? So if you are selling to the wrong customer, your value proposition will always be met with resistance. And then you sell that same thing to the right customer and they'll think, oh, you're a legend. I love what you're doing, right? So if you're selling creative talent, sell it to somebody else. That is the answer when it comes to small businesses. Okay. So then if you're still with me and you're going, hey Mike, I still want to sell and service small businesses, you've just got to go the route of completely acknowledging it's got to be this system-based approach.
Right.
And yes, you can get people onto the system and have them stick and have it be pretty much automated. And so what you've got to focus on completely is how do I market, sell, and onboard with that objective in mind? And that's what the whole surge to SaaS. Are you in my high leverage agency?
On the Facebook group.
No, okay. So hopefully, if you get the opportunity, get into high leverage agency. There's
Yeah.
a whole system that I teach called Surge to SaaS. And so let me just give you the nuts and bolts of it here real quick. Our entire objective is to get him onto the software, onto our system, paying us recurring monthly, and using that system with success. Okay. In order to get them there, there's with almost all small businesses, there is this push that needs to happen where it's the things that you're talking about. I need to educate them. I need to do some initial setup. I need to show some initial love so that they feel the value and then they start using it and they stick. So I call that the surge. So the surge needs to be this defined thing that okay, to get customers on here and get them using it and getting them happy, I need to do these 4 hours of training. I need to set up a new website. I need to set up their chatbot and I need to set up their, whatever, these workflows and stuff like that. That should all be essentially put into a snapshot. So most of it is fully baked. And then for each new customer, you have that surge process. That it's a very organized, methodical process. Hey, in the next 30 days, Mr. Customer, we're going to do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z, and then you're up and running. And then you can contact us on our weekly office hours calls and through our help desk ticketing system anytime you need help. Right. So that surge is where you got to pack all your creative juices into and do your best to make that a really awesome experience, but also make it a scalable experience. So it's kind of a cookie cutter approach. Okay. So that's what I teach in the high leverage agency. Like I said, if you get a chance to get in there, but I think you got the idea. And then what you probably need to do is so have you ever done sales for a living?
Um, I I worked for Apple,
Okay.
so that I was on the sales floor, but
Okay.
as in my own, not very great at it. I had a few clients, but, yeah, not the best at charging.
Okay.
That was, like, always my downfall.
So Apple, what was the most expensive thing you sold at Apple?
Oh gosh, probably, someone came in and got, like, $12,000
Was that
worth of.
easy or hard for you?
It was very easy.
Why?
Well, they knew what they kinda wanted, and I just filled them in with the information and be like, "Here's the thing."
Okay.
It was kinda take it or leave it because this is what you're looking for.
So I'm going to teach you one of the most important sales lessons you'll ever learn in your life if you can get this through your head, because I was the exact same way. Okay. There's all kinds of psychology around selling, and there's all kinds of forms of what is called sales call reluctance. Okay. And sales call reluctance, most people think of that as in the reluctance of picking up the phone and doing a cold call because it makes a lot of people sweat and sick to the stomach. It did me. Okay. But there's all kinds of other forms of sales call reluctance. One of the most common ones is to ask for money, right? And the psychological games that come into play are fascinating and tell you so much about yourself. It's unreal if you sit and you like dig into them. Okay. So let me give you a couple of examples. If you are a certain type of person and you're going and you're selling Porsches, okay, at the Porsche dealership, okay, and this Porsche is $125,000. Okay. And Zach comes in to buy a new car. There is a certain person that is going to have a hard time telling Zach that he has to spend $125,000 on that car, no matter what, just because that number is so big that to you, you're like, that is a ridiculous, unreasonable number, right? It's ridiculous that any human being should ever pay $125,000 for a car. Obviously, you should not be selling a Porsche if that's the case, right? But then there's a different kind of psychology that it's fascinating. You may have absolutely no problem asking for $125,000 for that Porsche, just like you didn't have a hard time asking for $12,000 for those Apple products. Why? Because you believe in the product, you believe in the brand. Those Apple computers are worth 12,000 bucks. They're the best computers out there. And you easily then ask for the 12,000 bucks or the $125,000 for the Porsche or whatever, because you're selling the product. And so the number almost doesn't matter to you anymore because that's just what the product is worth, right? Now, a whole nother layer of psychology comes in when you are now the product. And this is where so many people get all twisted up in their head. That same $12,000 that to you for Apple products was so easy. That same $12,000, when you ask for it for another human being to spend money on your services, you may go, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I can't ask somebody for $12,000, right? Because, and I don't mean to get all deep on you here, and I'm not telling you anything about you or anything like that, but there is some sort of sense of self worth thing in there that you're having a hard time saying that somebody needs to spend this money with me. And you have got to figure that out. You have got to figure that out. You have got to work through being able to ask for that money. Okay. And do it by just looking at somebody in the face with absolutely zero hesitation. And when they say, oh, how much is it? You go, it's $12,000. And you're able to just look them in the eye and respond with no problem and not start sweating and not start looking away and fidgeting with your papers while you're asking and stuff like that. And sometimes it just takes practice, but you've got to figure that out because right now you're associating too much, is my guess, is the psychology of this is you're associating too much your prices to some sort of self, it's a self-worth reflection issue, which it's so deeply fascinating to me because I struggled with this when I started selling. I had zero conscious awareness of any sort of self-worth issue associated with money. I had zero, you know, conscious issue with that. And yet I would go and start talking to people and they would say, how much is it? It's 5,000 bucks. And I would be like, it's $5,000. And then I was like, wait a minute. Like I will spend 5,000 bucks to go on a vacation and not even think about it. And here I am trying to do something for their business to help them make more money. And why am I choking on this? One of the most valuable things that you can do to get past this, in my experience, okay? One, I highly recommend going through any of David Sandler from Sandler Selling, any of his books, any of his training. He, rest in peace now, is no longer with us, but he was one of the most brilliant sales trainers and authors on selling. And he is still, I believe his business is still the number one sales training franchise in the world. Sandler Selling System right here. If you go and get any of their books, get any of their free training, and if you get the opportunity to go through coaching with them, I would love to offer this kind of coaching, honestly, but it's just not what I'm focused on. These guys are excellent. I've seen them take people who are terrible at sales and turn them into selling machines who were proud of being selling machines. Like people who hated selling and thought selling was for scumbags and stuff like that. I've seen them turn those people into selling machines. So I highly recommend them. And then the psychological game that you can learn to play that can help you here on this one. And this is what I did. Okay. When I set up my first company, I would have my CEO, of course, because I'm building a business, I'm the founder and the CEO. But when I would go out and sell, I would go out with a business card that just said I was a sales rep. I was a salesperson. And the reason why I did that was some degree to trick the customer and some degree to trick myself into disassociating with me being the product.
Mm,
And so
that's
I would
smart.
pretend I just got hired by Mike, the CEO, and he's given me this script I have to follow. And he's told me these are the prices of our services. This is what I have to charge. I don't have any flexibility. I'm just a salesperson. I can't just like the price in half. Like that's not even an option, right? I mean, the CEO told me, here are our prices. And so I would go out and I would play that game with myself. And it would help me to like, if somebody said to me, "Well, Mike, can't you discount the price?" And I'd just be like, "Hey, I can't. I just sell for this company. These are the price points, and I know those are the price points, right?" So I can go and ask the CEO if you want, but I haven't heard of us discounting like that before. So it, it like just allowed me to start making that psychological shift of I'm not selling me, I'm selling somebody else's skills and talent and product, right?
Right.
So there are all kinds of games that you can play there to figure that out, but you have got to figure that out because you can already hear
Yeah.
it in you where you say, I can sell something at 97, but at 297, like it starts to sound like a lot more money to you or something like that. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta figure that out.
Yeah. Getting into business has judged up like, huh, maybe I need therapy.
Yeah. Oh, see, totally. Sandler selling, their coaching, I got to tell you, is some of the best therapy you'll ever go through. It's therapy that will help you make more money because you will start to understand all of the psychology that so much of us have tied up around money and stuff like that. And
Wow.
all of a sudden, you'll start breaking through those barriers and you'll be like, oh, yeah, I can go ask somebody for a $50,000 credit. I was actually just thinking of this story before the call, Jasmine. Actually, one of my favorite long term customers from my first business. I'll never forget. I was broke as a joke. It was like year 2 of the business, and we were coming into the holidays. And I have a whole campaign around this now that I share with people, but we were coming to the holidays and it was like, geez, we need cash. Like, what are we going to do here? So came up with the idea of sending out an email to all of our customers saying, hey, if you want to save on your taxes, you could prepay for our services for the next year, right? And that way you can take that cash deduction off of your taxes before the end of the year here, right? No expectation that would work. Like I was just reaching for anything. Send it out. This customer that ended up being one of my favorite long-term customers. These were the customers that every time I talked to them and I said, hey guys, we need to spend X dollars to get a new computer set up, or whatever. They would haggle me, tell me, "Oh, yeah, it's too expensive. We don't have the money for that, blah, blah." Every single time I ask them for anything, right? Sure as shit. What do I do? A week after I send out that letter, I get a check from them for 50,000 bucks. It was the most money I'd ever seen in my life at that point that had like just come to me directly. I had raised money for previous businesses I could put into accounts and stuff like that. But this was like the first time a check came to me for 50,000 bucks. And I was just like, one. And then two, I was like, couldn't believe that these people were haggling with me every single time I wanted to spend a nickel, we're able to just cut a check for 50,000 bucks and send it to me. So I realized at that moment all kinds of things that I had going on in my head about money. One, that I was assuming that small businesses didn't have any money. Two, that I was assuming that if they were haggling with me, they didn't have any money and they really needed me. Oh, geez, I really need to give them a discount. Like, I got to help these guys out. Right. And then three, that in my own head, asking for that kind of money just seemed like impossible. Like, who would have $50,000 just laying around to send me? And yet they did, and it worked. Right. So we all play weird games with money in our head, and you've gotta sharpen those sales skills. And just going back to the root of the issue here, though, is that selling and servicing small businesses is 90% about sales. It's 90% about sales. You've got to have a full enough pipeline to make the numbers work, which it's just I've always said sales is a full contact sport. You've just got to be out there bumping into people. Your content's got to be bumping into people, phone calls, emails, lunch and learns, whatever it is. The more people that you're bumping into, the more sales you're going to generate, and it just is what it is, and that's gotta be the focus. It's just absolutely gotta be the
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah, that's good.
I
That's
hope that
awesome.
that helps.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being a part of the community. I hope it works out.
Yes, thank you.
When you are focused on selling you and your creative work and stuff like that, it's all about you, right? And then it's about this subjective evaluation of, does somebody think that your website that you designed was pretty or not? And it feeds that psychological challenge of selling versus, Jasmine, if you fall in love with some of those capabilities of high level, that's like falling in love with the Apple products, right? You're at the Apple store and you're like, yeah, I can sell that because look, it's awesome. Look what it does. You can't argue with. You turn on this MacBook and look how pretty it is and how fast it is and how many applications you can run at the same time. Same thing with some of these capabilities of high level. Like, if you dig into them and you do the homework to convince yourself of how valuable these things are, which I mean, again, that whole AI chatbot, just exactly as Zach's saying here, there is zero question in the world on the ROI on this thing to small businesses, no matter how you look at it. If you look at it from the increasing sales perspective, ROI. If you look at it from the cutting cost perspective, ROI. If you look at it from the, your brand and reputation are better because now you're responding to people and you're responding more accurately, ROI. Like, you would have to have zero interest in your business to argue with the capability of this thing, right? And so if that's the case, then you know you're talking to the wrong customer and you just walk away, right? Those aren't Apple customers, right? If you have somebody walk into the Apple store and they go, "Well, my big beige boxy PC I have at home still works," okay, you're not an Apple customer. I don't need to talk to you anymore. If you're talking to a small business owner that just goes, "Oh," you don't need to talk to them anymore. But you will be so convinced of the value of that AI chatbot that now you're selling your next Apple product. And so now when you go and you talk to those small business owners and you say, yeah, it's 197 to have your own chatbot that answers all these questions for you, blah, blah, blah. And they go, really? And you go, are you crazy? Hold on. Let me pull up a spreadsheet that I have for you to show you why this makes so much ridiculous sense for you. If you're paying anybody $20,000 a year to be providing support, picking up the phones, whatever at your business. Let's do the math. Okay. Now, that person takes time off. They go on vacations. They go on holidays. They come in sick. They answer things wrong, right? Am I right? Yeah, yeah. Okay, good. 197 a month. We take care of all of that, right? Well, like, don't be crazy. You'll be selling with such confidence and such conviction that your sales are going to go through the roof. And that's why again, one of the reasons why I think that this chatbot is going to be so powerful from a sales perspective is because you'll be able to turn this thing on and demonstrate the value of it so quickly that people will have a very hard time arguing. You see that chatbot? Go in there, start asking some questions. and see how it performs, right? So have a good demo that you can. And then the other thing I meant to say to you, Jasmine, when you're talking about your prices and you have to ask for money and stuff like that, this is one of the reasons why I tell people have your prices right up on your website. Have your prices right up there visible for people to see because your prices are not unreasonable. 197, 297, 497, right? In your head, you may have a hard time asking for them, but those are perfectly reasonable business prices. So if you have them on the website, and people are going to your website, seeing your packages. Then when it comes to the point of asking for money, you just say, awesome. Well, look, I know you're familiar with our packages A, B, and C. Which one of these would you like? You're not even asking for money. You're just saying, hey, which one of these packages did you want? Okay, great. Yeah, that's $497 a month. Awesome. Here we go. Want to get signed up, today, tomorrow? What do you want to do? Right. So it just again takes some of that psychology away from having to ask for money and getting all twisted about that. I hope you got some good value from the call. Thank you very much, Jasmine, for being a part of our community and joining us on that call and volunteering to share and be vulnerable. It helps everybody. Please give it a big thumbs up and share it with anybody that you think would get some good value from it. Also, please subscribe to my channel and leave any questions or comments down below in this video. I respond to them all personally. And finally, if you'd like to join us on a future office hours call, in the description of this video, I'm going to put the link where you can go get registered and get on the calendar for those calls. I do them every Friday here in my community just about throughout the year. So I hope to see you on one of those and on a future video. Take care.